Hi, my name is Glenda, and today's soap making video is inspired by cinnamon sugar donuts. The fragrance is of the same name and it has 8% of vanillin content, which means that it will turn the soap brown. To avoid that, I will be testing a DIY vanilla stabilizer that I found in the soap making forum website. I'm going to include links for it down below. I am using also EDTA as a chelator for my hard water area. I warm up the oils to 40 degrees Celsius or 105 Fahrenheit and also added 1 teaspoon of white mica. Well, it's actually called Shimmering White Clouds mica and it's from Crafter's Choice. I actually added another teaspoon to the oils of it because in case the vanilla color stabilizer doesn't work, I could have a lighter brown versus a dark brown. After stirring this into the oils for a little bit, I added the lye water solution, which is what makes soap happen. And I'm going to blend this until it reaches emulsion, which actually happens really fast with my recipe and the water discount that I use. Because this is the first time I'm using this fragrance, it's a fragrance test soap. I want to see how much it will discolor if I don't add a vanilla stabilizer to it. So I'm pouring a little portion of the soap into this mold and then I'm adding the corresponding amount of fragrance. It's about 5% of the mix. This part gets messy. I should have actually measured it out in a different container so that I could distribute the fragrance better, but it is what it is, so forgive the mess. The remaining soap batter has come to light trace and I'm going to add the fragrance with the vanilla stabilizer and pour it on the mold and start putting the design and the donuts on top. When I was making this soap, I remembered a story that I read in a book by Zig Ziglar. He shared a story from his childhood, and now to give you a context for it, I'll let you know that Zig Ziglar was born in 1926. So this happened probably in the early 1930s. In case you're not familiar with him, Zig Ziglar was a very famous public speaker, leader, and also a salesperson. And the Ziglar Foundation still exists and it's led by his son. Well, the story it's about him growing up in a very small town. He joked that the town was so small that they had put a mirror at the end of Main Street to make it look bigger. Well, donuts were something new in that town when he was a child, and he was fascinated by them. His older brother told him that if he ate into the donut hole, he was gonna die, which sounds pretty drastic, but as children, we tend to believe most of what we're told. So he will carefully bite around the hole in the middle, avoiding it, believing that he was indeed going to die if he did bite into the hole. Now to the soap I added some small pieces. These are the end pieces that I cut from other colorful soaps in the center so that as they get used, a splash of color will show up in the soap. I made the donuts with soap dough, and at the end of this video I'm going to show you very quickly how I did that if you want to stick around. There are also chapter links below in the description box if you want to skip to it. The confetti soap was made with a clay extruder, and what I'm using is the leftover pieces from the gingerbread house soap from last year. Here is the piece that does not have the vanilla stabilizer in it. As you can see, it does look a little bit darker than the rest. I'm going to put a picture next of how they look next to each other 2 months later. Now I'm going to show you briefly how I made the donuts. I grabbed a small piece of soap dough of a color that could pass as the donut color, and I made a small ball with it just by rotating it between my palms. And once I had something close to a ball, I just flattened it between my palms and with my fingers. Then I'm going to use this tool that has a rubber tip to create the indentation in the middle, or the hole in the middle. Now this soap dough, which was actually some leftover soap from another project, was very sticky, so I was having issues creating the hole. However, if your soap dough has the right consistency, then you wouldn't have this issue. Then I grabbed a small piece of pink soap dough to create a frosting effect. This came from the batch of the cherry blossoms soap. I made a snake shape with it, and then I looped it around the top of the donut, trimming it in at the point where they overlapped. Next, I'm going to flatten this slightly with my fingers, and because I think I started with a fairly thick snake shape, it was looking a little bit too thick still, so I went ahead and just flattened it the whole way with in between my palms. This made the donut shape become flattened as well, but that was easily adjusted by doing pressure in the around on the outside so that it came back to its donut shape. Now for the donuts that I use in the soap, instead of doing a frosting, what I did is that I sprinkled it with sugar, salt, cocoa powder, and cinnamon powder. I'll be curious to hear what your favorite donut is, so if you want to tell me below, I'd love to read it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.